The views, information, and opinions expressed during the following program are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent the views of Access Communications, its representatives, or its employees.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular meeting at Weyburn City Council, held in the council chambers at 6 p.m. Monday, April 8th, 2024, the day of the eclipse. And we're all here today, so except for John Corrigan, he is away. First, approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting and strategic planning and priorities meeting held March 25th, 2024. March 25th, 2024. Do I have a motion, please?
Your Worship, I'll make the motion that the minutes of the regular council meeting and the Strategic Planning Priorities Committee meetings held March 25th, 2024 be accepted as presented.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
All in favor? Carried unanimously. Additions to the agenda, Mr. Warren?
Yeah, administration, Your Worship, doesn't have any additions tonight.
Council? Seeing none, we're moving forward. Public hearings notices, there are none. Delegations, proclamations, petitions. Today we have a petition for the day of mourning, which is a proclamation for the April day of mourning. So every year more than 1,000 Canadian workers are killed on the job. Thousands or more permanently disabled. Hundreds of thousands are injured. Thousands of others die from cancer, lung disease, and other ailments caused by exposure to toxic substances at their workplace. April 28th of each year has been chosen by the Canadian Labour Congress as a day of mourning for these victims of workplace accidents and disease, a day to remember the maximum sacrifice they've been forced to make in order to earn a living, a day to renew approaches to governments for tougher occupational health and safety standards, and more effective compensation, and a day to rededicate ourselves to the goal of making Canada's workplaces safer. And whereas the April 28th was proclaimed the day of mourning by an act in Parliament on February 1st, 1991, I, Marcel Roy, of the City of Weyburn, do hereby proclaim April 28th as an annual day of mourning in recognition of the workers killed, injured, or disabled on the job. We have Juana Bartlett here tonight. Did you wish to say anything? Yes, press the red button, yes. Go ahead.
Just want to extend an invitation to everybody to join us on Sunday, April 28th at 1 p.m. up at the T.C. Douglas Church. We have a memorial out back, and we'll be doing a ceremony there to honor the workers that were killed in Saskatchewan over the past year.
And at what time is that?
1 o'clock on Sunday, April 28th.
Thank you. If you just join myself over here for a picture. One more. No, again, that was for the National Day of Mourning. April 28th, 1 p.m., up at the TC Douglas Building. Reports of standing committees, there are none. Consent agenda, which includes cash activity report, building report for March, Public Works Department report for March, Water Treatment Plant report March, and Fire Department report for March. These, do we have a motion to accept?
Your worship, I'll make the motion that the following items on the consent agenda be approved: the cash activity report for March, the building department report for March, the Public Works Department report for March, the Water Treatment Plant report for January, and the Fire Department report also for March of this year.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimous. Next, motions, accounts payable, please.
Your Worship, I'd make a motion that purchases from March 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2024 in the amount of $2,075,129.13 be passed for payment. This includes quick pays in the amount of $1,300, accounts payable in the amount of $1,511,532.98, direct withdrawals in the amount of $560,767.69, and debit card transactions in the amount of $1,528.46.
I'll second that, Your worship.
Discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. We now have asphalt, 2024 asphalt program. If you would, Jennifer.
Yes, thank you. The 2024 asphalt program was divided into 8 parts based on location and budget allocations. The City of Weyburn has allocated over $2.45 million for the 2024 asphalt program from the following budgets. Parts 1 to 4, $870,000 budgeted for asphalt repairs and rehabilitation under the Infrastructure Revitalization Program. Parts 5 and 7, $170,000 is budgeted under the Public Works General Operating Fund for asphalt maintenance and repairs. And just to note that $75,500 was already used for a joint road improvement with the RM of Weyburn on Queen Street. Part 6, $190,000 is budgeted under the Engineering General Operating Fund for asphalt rehabilitation at the airport, which includes community airport partnership funding. Part 8, so this is $1.23 million is budgeted under the Public Works General Operating Fund for the asphalt rehabilitation of First Avenue, which includes Urban Highway Connector program funding through the Government of Saskatchewan. So on February 27th, a request for proposal for the 2024 asphalt resurfacing program was posted on the city's new online bidding portal, Bids and Tenders, SAS Tenders, on the city's website. Proposals were to be received by the City of Weyburn by March 25th at 1 p.m. 2 proposals were received. So proposals submitted were reviewed to ensure bidders understood the scope of work involved, met the RFP requirements, and to ensure the project delivery schedule could be met. Both proposals meet the full requirements. The qualifying bids are summarized below and include PST. So you can see the 8 parts broken out there, and we had Genco Asphalt and Torrent Energy Services bid. So parts 1 through 4 is the Infrastructure Revitalization Program. The low bid price for parts 1 through 4 exceeded the budget amount in the IRP fund. So the engineering department is prioritizing part 1, which is Railway Avenue, based on the traffic volume and road classification. Based on grade hole investigations, the granular road based on Railway Avenue is inadequate, resulting in a complete structural rebuild being proposed for a 25-year service life. The proposed work area encompasses the 2023 and 2024 water main replacement trenches from 5th to 7th Street and from 8th to 10th Street respectively, and the 2023 storm drain replacement trenches. To stay within the IRP budget of $870,000, the following is required. Remove Prairie Avenue, Moore Street, and road transitions from the 2024 asphalt program. Reduce the work area on Railway Avenue by approximately 1,850 meters squared by removing 1 block from 9th to 10th Street and all the intersection transitions on the north side of the street. So that's basically at every intersection we were kind of jutting in and heading a little bit north. So we'll just bring that transition and cut it right at Railway. And then utilize the 2024 utilities budget, $60,000 to cover the payment over the 2024 water main replacement trench, which is approximately 1,100 meters squared on Railway Avenue. For parts 5 and 7, so part 5 repair area is located directly adjacent to the bus loop in front of St. Michael's School. The work scope for part 5 involves excavating and rebuilding the base and then a machine patch overlay of new asphalt. This repair was tendered for construction in 2023, but was not completed before school started in September 2023, therefore was retendered for completion in 2024. The work scope for part 7 includes a surface fog seal treatment to preserve the new pavement at 16th Street and 1st Avenue intersection that was done last year for maintenance purposes. These parts fit within the current budget. Part 6, Weyburn Airport Rehabilitation. The proposed work scope for the airport rehabilitation involves repaving approximately 2,700 meters squared of area divided between Taxiway C, Apron 1, and the entrance adjacent to the access gate. Crack sealing a total of 15,000 meters of the asphalt surfaces on Taxiway A, B, and the main runway, followed by fog sealing approximately 68,750 meters squared of the asphalt surfaces on all the taxiways, Apron 1, and the main runway. The low bid exceeds the budget amount, therefore a reduced work scope, removing a small portion of crack sealing, the entire fog seal treatment, and the corresponding application of new pavement markers is proposed. This will reduce by $105,000 to remain within the budget amount. One overlay application of pavement markers will still be required and will be completed separately under the traffic line painting contract for a reduced rate. Part 8, 1st Avenue. So the 1st Avenue work scope involves a combination of areas of full structural rebuild, new concrete curbing and pedestrian ramps, and mill and pave with localized deep repairs starting from Government Road all the way to 13th Street. All North Consultants Limited have been retained to complete the detailed design package for the road rehabilitation. The quantities in the RFP were estimated and will be refined once topographic surveying and engineer drawings have been completed, which is early June 2024. The amount of $60,000 from the budget is allocated for third-party construction administration during construction. So it is recommended that the following parts be awarded to Genco Asphalt as follows. Part 1, Railway Avenue with a reduced work scope for a total of $930,000 including PST. Part 5, 13th Avenue, and Part 7, 1st Avenue and 16th Street for a total of $49,338.66, including PST. Part 6, the airport, with a reduced work scope for a total of $1,666,494.83, including PST. And then Part 8, 1st Avenue, for a total of $1,830,995.67, including PST. This would be an overage of $662,760.67 to be covered by a line of credit.
Do you have a motion, please?
Your Worship, I have a motion that the 2024 asphalt program be awarded to Genco Asphalt Incorporated as follows. Part 1, Railway Avenue, with a reduced work scope for a total of $930,000, including PST. Part 5, 13th Avenue, and Part 7, 1st Avenue and 16th Street, for a total of $49,338.66, including PST. Part 6, Airport, with a reduced work scope for a total of $166,494.83, including PST. Part 8, 1st Avenue, for a total of $1,830,995.67, including PST. This would be an overage of $662,760.67 to be covered by a line of credit.
Your Worship, I will second that motion.
Discussion. Go ahead, Laura.
Thank you, Worship. Jen, sorry, I should have given you a heads up. Can you explain exactly what the fog seal is, and if not doing it now will decrease the lifespan of the work that we're going to do this year?
Sorry, talking specifically at 16th and First, or you're talking we cut it from the airport?
Cutting from the airport.
Okay. So basically a fog seal is just kind of that really thin layer of asphalt. So you would have seen it in a lot of parking lots in the past year. I'll actually use Barbara Motors as an example. They went and redid that. They did kind of a fog seal treatment on it. So basically it's just kind of a really thin layer. The thing with it is we can come back and do that in another year, and we can do the majority of the build and everything and do the crack sealing, and then we would just come back and do a fog seal, and we won't see any issues delaying it a year.
Thank you.
Mel? No? Go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. Jen, I appreciate the frustration of having to redo this. So I understand that this is not what you wanted to do, but we have to stay in budget. I think what you have proposed here is as logical a way as you could go about cutting that much money as possible. I like that we are, kind of continuing that focus on First Ave, because that is really bad, and I would hate for us to piecemeal that in when we just spent the money on 16th Street. So I think I don't love this idea, but I suppose it's the medicine that we have to take. My question, and I think the question might be as much to the Director of Finance or maybe the City Manager, is a couple, I'm going to layer the questions up, so put up with me while I get to it. First off, we're looking at an external loan versus an internal loan, and why that would be. I think I understand, but I'd like your take on that. And then secondly, can you help us understand, we take an external loan or an internal loan, same idea, the loan payment on that, if I understand correctly, would come from this budget over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, however long that would be. So now that payment is part of the 2025 budget, the 2026 budget, the 2027. So I just want to make sure everything I think I know is reasonably accurate.
Yes, that's correct. We looked into if we would get an external loan, or we actually are proposing a line of credit instead, just adding to our line of credit that we currently have and setting it up that way. So then we would the line of credit would only be what we withdrew to spend on the excess, just mostly because an external loan is a lot more work administratively. Like, we have to advertise it, we need bylaws, we'd have to go out and source multiple options. So, and just for this amount, it's probably makes more sense to use a line of credit than a loan. And so when I put the 3 payments to look at what 3 payments could be, we could extend it over like 8 to 9 years, 100,000 per year. And we would put that into the budget, and that would be on like 700,000. So.
Thanks. Just a follow-up question then. If we find, and I know that projects aren't going to come in $700,000 under budget, but projects can come in under budget, or maybe don't get done this year. Maybe they can't get done. Are you able to then redirect savings to back against this line of credit? Is that something we can do?
And we could do that if that's what council wants to us to do. We could propose, if something's a savings, then we apply that money towards this project.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, good work. I mean, going forward, these aren't going to get cheaper, and this is sort of a situation of that. The crack sealing part, we have our own crack sealing bill, correct? But there's a cost to operations of that, and I understand that. But that's what that number is, eh? The savings, because you're taking away some of the crack sealing at the airport.
Oh yeah, we're taking a little bit of it away. Yeah, the crack sealing is saving a minimal amount. It's the fog seal that's saving the most of the money. And then with the line painting, we had put it into the project, and that contractor is almost double what our current line painter that we use within town is. So that's why we're switching the line painting out. So the crack sealing is actually very minimal in what the saving is, but it's primarily the cut of the fog seal and the switching of the pavement.
And everything that's in town, anything underneath of it that needs to be repaired, whether that be sewer, water, whatever, that's all being done. Is that?
Yeah. So on like railway, we've gone through and we've been doing the water main, and we've been doing, if you'll notice, you can see where we've already replaced the storm drains and stuff. So we've gone through and done a bunch of that preemptive work to do that. So yeah, we've been doing that ahead of schedule, and that's been part of our IRP program. Is usually we try and come and do those the year before.
Okay. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you. Laura, that overage, would that money then in future years come out of the IRP program in those future years?
We would just budget it to come out of our regular funds, or we could put it to come out of IRP, I guess.
Yes, that would be a budget
100,000 would be
decision.
paid out of IRP, it would just cut back on what we could do through IRP.
Okay, so that'll just be a budget decision, I guess,
Yeah.
at that time. Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
I don't know how this works because we're beating a dead horse. I voted against it, expanding the sidewalk by that 100,000, if you recall. Would we not be able to shuffle that, or would we be able to rescind that? We'd have to rescind that, I guess, decision. So to end up saying, we're not going to do these sidewalks. We didn't, at that point in time, if we knew that we were going to be over here, we wouldn't have voted to go ahead with those sidewalks at that time.
Some of
Yes
it
or no?
isn't sidewalk. Some of it is curbing related to Railway Avenue. That's a chunk of it. So those kind of have to go hand in hand. We need to do the curbing on Railway to ensure that when we go and repave it, all the drainage is fixed in
Right.
that area, because that's a lot of the problem too. And that's why there's curbing under First Avenue as well, is that if you're going to fix the road, you need to redo the curbing to ensure that you keep the proper drainage, because that's a lot of the issue on a lot of our roads, is that small lifts were done every year, and the problem is now the drainage isn't effective on those streets, and now the water is actually getting into the street and destroying the street. So we have a lot of issues like that. So not all of it was sidewalk related. I will somewhat defend the sidewalks in the sense that we need to make our city drivable. We also need to make it accessible and walkable. So we have to walk that fine balance of ensuring that we are keeping our sidewalks safe for all the pedestrian traffic and accessibility. That's why we keep the pedestrian ramps and things like that as a yearly program, is to ensure that we do have a walkable and accessible city as well as a drivable city.
And part of this First Avenue, the First Avenue part is the eventual interconnection, right? And
Yes.
This is where the government actually, even though we're paying so much, that the government is actually paying how much percentage?
They're paying 70% of the original budgeted amount. Yeah.
So, and that's just unfortunate what prices are, and as we're going forward, because there was a terrific amount of paving going on. I don't know how that affects us, but you look towards Regina, the 20 of that whole highway, there's a terrific amount of paving going on this year. So that, I'm sure, affects what we can get done here too. Any other further questions? Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Introduction of bylaws. Bylaw 2024-3476, Weyburn Planning District Official Community Plan. Matthew?
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. We did the first reading of this back on February 26th. So I'll just go through my report here. So municipalities can establish advisory district planning commissions to assist and advise them on managing land uses, development of interest between jurisdictions. The commission provides a formal process for intermunicipal discussions of mutual interest and creates opportunities for consistent land use policies and zoning between affiliated municipalities. So back in 2010, the arm of Weyburn and the City of Weyburn established a planning district Weyburn District Planning Commission. In 2014, the district plan, which was bylaw 2014-3298, was adopted by councils and approved by the Ministry of Government Relations. The district plan provides a joint approach to address future land uses, fringe development, and other matters of intermunicipal and regional concerns affecting lands in each municipality. So back in 2022, the Weyburn District Planning Commission received funding through the Provincial Targeting Supporting Sector Support Grant Fund to conduct a review and update of the district official community plan. So Crosby and Hanna and Associates was contracted as our professional community planner to conduct the review and update. I discussed this when we last did this presentation. Right down where my mouse is over in the southeast corner, there isn't very many planning districts. We're quite fortunate to have a great relationship with our arm of Weyburn, and we have a great commission that really looks at what we want to do for planning purposes within what we do here in Weyburn and in the area surrounding us. So again, we're quite fortunate that we have this group and we're able to do joint planning. As stated at the very top of my presentation, the first reading of the bylaw of 2024, 3476 was on the February 26th council meeting. Public notices were sent out, and we also advertised in the March 16th and 13th editions of the Weyburn Review. We also had this posted at City Hall and our city website. So the district plan encompasses both municipalities in an overarching plan. The district plan contains a vision statement, goals, objectives, policies, and actions which both councils have jointly developed through the participation in the Weyburn Planning District Commission. The district plan is not only a growth management plan, but sets out the spirit of intermunicipal and regional cooperation on shared values and services, infrastructure, and socioeconomic needs, as well as providing those who wish to develop in our region better guidance and certainty. This plan complements the official community plans and zoning bylaws of both City of Weyburn and the Arm of Weyburn. So we're going through, our vision is to be an inclusive, safe, vibrant, and progressive region with a strong sense of pride while supporting existing industries and remain competitive for new opportunities to flourish in the region. Some guiding principles we look at when we're going through our plan is partnership, health, safe and inclusive, promoting opportunity and economic growth, environmental considerations, efficiency and flexibility, resilience, innovation, and creativity. District goals we look at are natural and heritage-based resources, fiscal and economic development, intergovernmental interest and involvement, and then community participation. And then objectives and policies within the plan are economic development, natural and heritage resources, hazards and biophysical constraints and on development, intermunicipal and jurisdictional cooperation, transportation, municipal infrastructure and services, and then residential land use and development. Also within this, we have our future land use map, which looks at our present use patterns, as well as identify opportunities for and constraints on future and land use and development within the planning district. So this map identifies the following policy areas, which is our urban future growth policy area, agricultural mixed use policy area, residential policy area, commercial policy area, industrial policy area, urban referral policy area, recreation policy area, and our hamlet policy area. So when we went through a review process, we were able to get some input from the public. We did have one resident provide some comments back to us, which were really beneficial, and insisted in ensuring that we had clear definitions and consistent wording throughout the plan. Also, through the final review with Crosby, Hanna and Associates, the following were changes that we made to the plan. The first change is 2.3.4, which is our municipal growth strategies. We added a reference to the 2021 StatCan data. Second change was 5.7.2 under number 2, which is urban referral policy area under implementation. This section was removed as this was already implied throughout the entire document. And then also under 6.1.4, under section 2 of the zoning agreement, references to proper section, which we're referencing back to 6.1.3. So just a note to council tonight, all changes made did not change the intent or purpose of the plan at all. So in conclusion, the district plan provides a clear direction to guide land use and development decisions within the planning district, and will strengthen intermunicipal cooperation, growth, and sustainable management within the Weyburn region. The plan meets the requirements of the Planning and Development Act of 2007 and is in alignment with the City of Weyburn and the Arm of Weyburn official community plans and zoning bylaws, and is endorsed for approval by the Weyburn District Planning Commission. The official community plan must be approved by the Minister of Government Relations. So after final reading of this 2024-3046, it will be submitted to the provincial ministry for approval. And then once the approval is provided by the ministry, the plan will come into effect. So I have three options in place for council tonight. So option one is for council to hold a public hearing regarding bylaw 2024-3476 and to hear any concerns or comments from interested parties. Second one is for council to give second and third reading of the bylaw 2024-3476, being a bylaw to adopt the Weyburn Planning District official community plan. Option two is for council to direct any amendments to the bylaw back to administration. If there is any amendments wanted, we have to take those back to the Arm of Weyburn. And then option three is for refusal. And if there's any refusals, we have to have reasons for that refusal. So staff recommendation tonight is that council gives second and third reading to bylaw 2024-3476 to approve the Planning District official community plan.
So going forward, the public hearing for bylaw 2024-3476 is portion of it is now declared open, and I invite any parties wishing to speak regarding this bylaw may do so now at this time. So I'll make my first call for anyone to come forward to speak to this bylaw. I make announcement to ask anyone, a second request for anyone to come forward, speak to this bylaw. Third and final request, asking anyone to come forward, speak to this bylaw. Seeing none, I declare that this hearing be closed. We can now proceed with second and third reading. May I have second reading, please?
Your Worship, I move the bylaw 2024-3476, a bylaw to adopt the Weyburn District Plan and Official Community Plan, be read a second time.
I'll second that motion, Your Worship.
Discussion? Seeing none?
Just a little bit. I think I appreciate the work that administration's put into this, and also would like to express our appreciation, I think, to our District Planning Commission, who spent some time with this as well. Is that right, City Manager? They've been through this pretty thoroughly.
Yeah, it's been a great team effort. I really do appreciate the work that's been done by our commission members, the members from the Arm of Weyburn, their administrative team, and also a team over here at the City of Weyburn. Yeah. It's a great relationship.
It's a team effort,
helping us build what's happening here in the community.
And everyone's got a great deal of comfort with what's in front of us here today.
That's correct.
Yeah. Thanks, Your Worship.
Mr. Van Betju?
I just want to echo what Councillor Richard said, and it's a tremendous amount of work for administration and the planners, both on the city side and the RM side. And I want to thank them for all the work they did, and to also thank the RM of Weyburn for their participation in this process. And it's a great relationship that hopefully will keep growing and moving forward.
Mr. Janke.
I'll echo those comments. I also want to thank the community for their input on this, which is always wonderful to have. City Manager Warren, just to be clear, all of that input that was incorporated in this was done so before first reading. Is that correct?
Nope. So the many changes we have there are put forward to you guys tonight. So after we had the first reading, we did have that resident come back to us with some comments. And so those changes are based on those changes I put in the report. And then also we did a review with Crosby Hanna to make sure that was properly done all the way through.
Right. So we can proceed with second reading without any concerns about that. Excellent.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Third reading, please.
Your Worship, I move that bylaw 2024-3476, a bylaw to adopt the Weyburn Planning District Official Community Plan, be read a third time and passed tonight.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. So that bylaw is now, will be sent in to the provincial government, and we will begin doing business via that bylaw. New business, special occasions application, Weyburn Beavers. Mr. Warren.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. So we have a request from the Weyburn Beavers for selling of alcohol, and they don't have an established permit for where they want to have the alcohol sold. So written municipal approval must be submitted respecting all outdoor functions. So we did receive a request attached from the Weyburn Beavers. The application is to sell alcohol during the 2024 Western Major Baseball League regular season and playoff games, which will occur from May 24th and all the way to the end of August, so August 31st, 2024, and all games are played at Tom Lang Park. The city administration has reviewed the application, and all required information was included, and there were no concerns with the application. So recommendation from council tonight is that council provides approval to the Weyburn Beavers to make application to the Saskatchewan Liquor and Gaming Authority to sell alcohol during the 2024 Western Major Baseball League regular season and playoff games played between May 24th and August 31st of 2024 at Tom Lang Park.
Do I have a motion, please?
Your Worship, I'll make the motion that council provide approval to the Weyburn Beavers to make an application to the Saskatchewan Liquor and Gaming Authority to sell all alcohol during the 2024 Western Major Baseball League regular season and playoff games played May the 24th through August the 31st, 2024 at Tom Lang Park.
Your Worship, I'll second that.
Discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Home-based business application, 732 Elm Street. Mr. Warren?
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. I'll pull up the report. So an application is received from Abigail Housen to operate a skincare aesthetics home-based business of their residence at 732 Elm Crescent. So this is located within the R1 zone. This would be considered a controversial use, as this business involves clients being directed to the home throughout the day. The proposed days and hours of operation are Tuesday through Friday from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. The applicant anticipates a minimal traffic increase with 3 to 4 clients a day, and driveway parking is available. So it was through neighborhood notice, as this is a controversial home-based business, which involves the clients attending the home throughout the day. We have to go through the neighborhood notice process. So notices were mailed out on March 18th to all neighbors within the 50 meters of the applicant's home. Residents receiving the notice were given opportunity to comment, and we received no comments or concerns back. So as you can see, this is the drawing. We show where the location of where the home-based business would be located. A little easier view, we give you a Google map view of where the residence would be, right off of Elm Crescent. So through the review, home-based business are permitted use, meaning that landowners have the right to undertake the use in accordance with the bylaw, unless provisions of the bylaw are specifically contravened. Home-based businesses generally must meet the following provisions: be incidental to the use of the premise as a residence, be compatible with the residence uses, be limited in extent in terms of volume of materials sold and number of clients, not substantially increase the volume of traffic, and not detract from the residential character of the zone. The use identified would be considered controversial occupation under section 5.1.19 of the zoning bylaw, as clients will be directed towards the home. Staff has reviewed the application, and of our opinion, the home-based business meets the requirements of the zoning bylaw. So we have 2 options in front of council tonight. So option number 1 is council approves the home-based business permit 2024.005 at 732 Elm Crescent, subject to the following conditions. No person other than the resident of the dwelling unit shall be engaged in the home-based business as the employee or a volunteer. No advertisement carrying out the address of the dwelling in which the home-based business occurs may be placed in any media. The home-based business shall not occupy more than 25% of the gross floor area of the dwelling unit. The face of the home-based business sign on site must not exceed 0.092 meters squared and must be placed within the inside half front yard setback. This permit is not valid for the above address and is not transferable to another address. It's only valid to this address and is not transferable to another address. A reapplication would be required if they had to move locations. Home-based businesses are subject to reviews to ensure compliance. Applicants' driveways must be used for off-street parking of clients, and then there must be a City of Weyburn business license obtained prior to operation of the home-based business. So option number 2 is if council wants to refuse this application, they must provide the reasoning tonight for that. So staff is recommending that option number 1 is passed, which the council approves home-based business permit 2024.005 at 732 Elm Crescent, subject to the conditions listed above.
Do I have a motion, please?
Your worship, I have a motion that home-based business permit 2024.005 at 732 Elm Crescent be approved, subject to the following conditions. No person other than a resident of the dwelling unit shall be engaged in the home-based business as an employee or volunteer. No advertisement carrying the address of the dwelling in which the home-based business occurs may be placed in any media. The home-based business shall not occupy more than 25% of the gross floor area of the dwelling unit. The face of any home-based business sign on site must not exceed 0.092 meters squared and must be placed within the inside half of the front yard setback. This permit is only valid for the above address, is not transferable to another address. Reapplication will be required if the business moves locations. Home-based businesses are subject to periodic review to ensure compliance. Applicant's driveway shall be used for off-street parking of clients, and City of Weyburn business license shall be obtained prior to operation of the home-based business.
Your worship, I'll second that. Discussion? None. It's very straightforward. And so, call a question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Weyburn builds. Patrick, if you would explain tonight.
Thank you. Okay, the City of Weyburn currently provides a Weyburn Builds incentive program that is designed to encourage replacement and improvement of exteriors of aging houses and mature areas in the city. In addition, the program supports economic development within our community and encourages the use of local materials and labor providers. Assessed owners of property in the City of Weyburn within the defined criteria who submit an application that is approved and satisfy the program would qualify. The following grant amounts are eligible for the program right now. New houses, RTMs moved in, receive a reduction of property taxes of 75% for 3 years. Major exterior renovations and additions, mobile homes moved in. The grant is based on the approved construction value. The grant amount is $50 per $1,000 of construction value with a maximum grant of $1,000. Attached garages are eligible. Accessory buildings and detached garages are not eligible, as they are not additions to the dwelling units. So eligibility criteria, the tax exemption is extended to the assessed owner of the property. Grant applications must be submitted prior to the start of the project. A building permit must be issued for the project. The applicant must provide proof of 50% local content used in the construction undertaken. Major renovations must contribute to the exterior appearance of the dwelling in the neighborhood. Interior renovations are not eligible for consideration. Assessed property owners in the City of Weyburn whose dwelling is a minimum of 25 years old or vacant property in a neighborhood which was developed minimum of 25 years ago. An extensive review is performed assessing other municipalities in Saskatchewan, their programs. Communities reviewed include Yorkton, Swift Current, Moose Jaw, Melfort, Humboldt. Although almost every community has incentive programs on new development, On all levels, the City of Weyburn is the only one that has an incentive program for renovations at the residential level. So in an effort to continue to be innovative and strategically find ways to keep economic development thriving in the City of Weyburn, reviewing the program provided us an opportunity to make changes to suit the current market and incentivize areas to promote growth. So the framework of the Weyburn Builds is that we provide framework for the creation and implementation of various incentive programs aimed to encourage property owners to renovate or make improvements to exteriors of aging houses in mature areas or new construction throughout the City of Weyburn. The programs developed for the following objectives: to improve the Weyburn's competitive position in attracting and retaining residents, to increase economic activity within the community and promote growth, to attract investment in properties and increase property values, to encourage improvements to mature areas, helping to beautify the city, to soften the impact of inflation and provide opportunities for investment in properties, and to generate work locally for contractors and expand their operation within the community. So some of the proposed changes, we broke it into 3 separate categories. So the first one is new construction. The intent is to focus the program to encourage new development on vacant properties or properties that have become vacant through demolition. The proposed grant amount would be the 3 years at 75%. Eligibility, new construction of all residential dwellings on a vacant property that would fall under Part 9 of the National Building Code 2020. So Part 9 of Division B applies to all buildings of 3 stories or less in building height and have a building area not exceeding 600 square meters. The project must meet all applicable building safety codes, development requirements, and comply with zoning bylaw requirements upon completion. Project will require land use approval through the development permit and construction approvals, including appropriate building, electrical, and mechanical permits. The program is intended to incentivize work and not abate past improvements. As such, to be eligible for funding, improvements may not commence until the application has been approved by the city. The applicant must provide 50% local content used in the construction, labor, trades, and/or materials of the project. The residential property must be completed within 12 months of the date of the permit being issued, and to be eligible, the applicant must not be in tax arrears, municipal utilities, or any other municipal charges. Okay, so for application, they must complete a Weyburn Builds application. It must be submitted to the Planning and Development Department. All required information must be included in the review, and a project cannot qualify for more than 1 Weyburn Builds program. Okay, Part 2 is new mobile home or modular homes. So again, the focus is to encourage new development on vacant properties that have, or properties that have become vacant through demolition. Again, the incentive is for 3 years, 75%. So new mobile or modular dwelling units on vacant property must comply in design, construction, and alteration for residential occupancies as described in NBC 2020. Project must meet all applicable building codes, development requirements, and comply with zoning bylaws. The project will require land use approval through development permit and construction approvals, including appropriate building, electrical, and mechanical permits. The program is intended to incentivize work, not abate past improvements. As such, the funding, in order to be eligible for funding, improvements may not commence until the application has been approved by the city. Applicant must provide proof of 50% local content used in on-site preparation for the modular or mobile home, construction, labor, trades, and materials to prepare the dwelling for occupancy. The residential property must be completed within 12 months of the date of the building permit being issued, and to be eligible, the applicant must not be in arrears in taxes, municipal utilities, or any other municipal charges. Again, that would require a completed building Weyburn Builds application to the Planning and Development Department. All information must be included in the application, and the project cannot qualify for more than one Weyburn Builds program. Okay, finally is the exterior upgrades. The focus of the program is to encourage property owners to renovate or make improvements to exteriors of aging houses in the mature infill areas of the city. The grant program rebate amount would be $50 per 1,000 of approved work to a maximum of $1,500. The grant is based on the approved construction value. The grant can be applied to a maximum of $30,000 in construction value, and this amount will be credited to the tax roll of the property. So eligibility, assess property owners in the city of Weyburn whose dwelling unit is a minimum of 25 years old. The following would be eligible improvements: attached additions, garages, and decks to exterior homes, major dwelling exterior upgrades, including siding, shingles, windows, doors. Accessory buildings and detached garages are not eligible as they are not additions to the dwelling unit. Major renovations must contribute to the exterior appearance of the dwelling in the neighborhood. Interior renovations are not eligible. The project must meet all applicable building safety codes, development requirements, and comply with the zoning bylaw requirements. The project will require land use approval through the development permit and construction approvals, including the appropriate building, electrical, and mechanical permits. The program is intended to incentivize work and not abate past improvements. As such, to be eligible for funding, improvements may not commence until the application has been approved by the city. The applicant must provide 50% local content use in the construction, labor, trades, and/or materials portion. Property owner is welcome in a property owner labor is welcome in a project, but cannot be assessed a value for grant payment purposes. To be eligible, the applicant must not be in arrears in taxes, municipal utilities, or any other municipal charges. Property owner is eligible to receive a tax rebate for the maximum amount of $1,500 over a 5-year period. A completed Weyburn Builds application must be submitted to the Planning and Development Department. All required information must be included, and the project cannot qualify for more than one Weyburn Builds program. So roles and responsibilities, City Council is to review and approve updates to the policy as necessary, approve the appropriate level of funding in accordance with the Weyburn Builds program pursuant to the Cities Act Section 263. Planning and development to promote the program and assist applicants in applying for the program, accept and review all applications and approve them based on the criteria set out within a policy, provide a report to the Economic Development Committee for annual program outcomes and suggestions and recommendations for changes to the program, and provide program outcomes annually to the City Council. Assessment and taxation to calculate and process all the rebates for eligible properties prior to year end. Submit to City Council at year end a list of the properties that qualified for the program, a list of properties which applications for the program have been received but did not qualify, a list of properties through the program that have previously been approved and will remain eligible for tax concessions under phasing out provisions of the policy. Establish a separate budget item in each year's budget to show properties approved under this policy. Applicants need to submit their application to the Planning and Development Department, provide additional information as required, pay 100% of the costs of eligible improvements prior to the funding. Once the invoices have been paid by the owner, they must be submitted to the city for review. If approved, provide required follow-up documentation, which may include pictures of the work completed, quotes, receipts, assessments. Ensure taxes are kept current. If the property goes into arrears, the tax incentive becomes null and void. They can only be eligible to receive an incentive to the maximum amounts within the period of time prescribed in the policy for the same building or property. So the recommendation is that City Council approve the proposed changes to the Weyburn builds with an implementation date of April 15th, 2024.
Your Worship, I'd move that the Weyburn Builds policy be approved as presented.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? Good.
Patrick, your microphone was off. Can you do that again? Just kidding.
I made sure it was on.
This was a great deal of work, so thank you. And I really like the changes you've made. The only thing I would ask you to just clarify for, at least for me and others who might be asking, is the section on new mobile home or modular homes. A new mobile means not a different mobile home. It means a new mobile home, as in a mobile home that's never been lived in before.
I believe so, yes. That's the intent, yeah. Yeah, that is the intent, yeah.
Good.
Patrick, well done on this. One minor nitpicky clarification. In each of the sections where you have to provide proof of 50% local content, it says in construction, labor, trades, and or materials. Is that to mean in one of the four or in aggregate of all four?
Yeah, as a total project cost, we need 50% to be, so it might not all be materials, it might not all be labor, but combined, it could be 50% of the cost of the project.
That's the answer I was looking for.
Yeah.
And sweat labor is not, although that's nice to see.
Correct, yeah. We certainly won't take that away from anybody, but it's hard to put a value on, so unfortunately it can't be considered.
No. Go ahead. So, call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimous. Show home incentive program. Patrick?
Okay, this one's not quite as long, so. So the City of Weyburn currently does not provide an incentive program that is designed to encourage home builders and or contractors to construct show homes within the city. This program supports economic development in our community and encourages the use of local materials and labor providers. A review of other municipalities in Saskatchewan was completed to see the types of programs that they offered. The major cities in Saskatchewan, in Saskatoon, Regina, and lots of their bedroom communities like Martinsville, for example, have show home incentive programs. Outside of these sort of hotbed areas, the only other city in Saskatchewan that has a program like this is Yorkton. So the discussion is that with the inventory of vacant lots in the city, including our own inventory and developers' inventory, as well as a lower vacancy rate, we feel there's an opportunity to initiate some economic growth with an incentive program that provides home builders and contractors an avenue to market their product. Provided the home builder meets all eligibility criteria, they will qualify for the suggested exemptions. So the framework is as follows. Show home incentive provides framework for implementation of an incentive program aimed at encouraging home builders, contractors, and businesses to develop new furnished homes in underdeveloped residential subdivisions throughout the City of Weyburn. The program is developed for the following objectives: to improve Weyburn's competitive position in attracting and retaining residents, to increase economic activity and foster growth within the community, to assist home builders, contractors, and businesses in constructing and operating show homes, to encourage residential construction in underdeveloped areas of the community, to support current businesses to expand their operations in Weyburn, creating employment opportunities, and to demonstrate the City of Weyburn's commitment to economic development. So the proposed program is as follows. The focus of the program is to encourage new development, basically construction on vacant properties. The proposed grant amount is 100% from the date of the original development permit for 2 years. So eligibility would be as follows: new construction of a show home on a vacant property. Additionally, a spec home that that would meet all the eligibility requirements would also be considered. The project must meet all applicable building codes, development requirements, and comply with zoning bylaw requirements upon completion. The project will require land use approval through development permit and construction approvals, including appropriate building, electrical, and mechanical permits. The program is intended to incentivize work and not abate past improvements. As such, to be eligible for funding, improvements may not commence until the application has been approved by the city. The applicant must provide 50% content used in construction, labor, trades, and/or materials. A home builder is eligible for a maximum of 2 home exemptions in a 12-month period. The home must have a completed interior and exterior and can be finished at the discretion of the home builder. The home must be grassed or turfed in the front yard and have a hard surface finished driveway and a finished posterior deck. Home cannot be occupied during the period in which the exemptions apply. The show home must be available for free viewing to the public and staffed for viewing for a minimum of 5 hours a week. Show home must have a minimum of 1,000 square feet above grade and attached garage. Show home must be completed within 12 months of the date of the building permit being issued. And to be eligible, the applicant must not be in arrears in taxes, municipal utilities, or any other municipal charges. So application, there'd be a completed show home incentive program application submitted to planning and development. All required information must be included in the application prior to being reviewed. A project cannot qualify for any other City of Weyburn building incentive program, Weyburn Builds or the commercial incentive program, if it's under this one. City Council to review and approve updates to this policy as necessary. Approve the appropriate level of funding in accordance with the policy pursuant to the Cities Act, Section 263. Planning and development to promote the show home incentive program and assist applicants applying for the program. Accept and review all applications. Approve applications based on the criteria set out within the policy. Provide a report to City Council for annual program outcomes and any suggestions or recommendations for changes to the program. Assessment and taxation to calculate and process all rebates for eligible properties prior to year end. Submit to City Council at the year end a list of properties that qualified, a list of properties which applicants for the program have been received but did not qualify for the program, and a list of properties through the program that have previously been approved to which remain eligible for tax concessions under phase-out provisions of the policy. Establish a separate budget item in each year's budget to show the properties under this policy. Applicants will need to submit their application to the city's Planning and Development Department for review, provide additional information as required, pay 100% of the cost of eligibility improvements prior to funding. Once the invoices have been paid, the owner or applicant then must submit these to the city for funding. If approved, provide required follow-up documentation, which may include pictures of the work completed, quotes, receipts, assessments, etc. Ensure taxes are kept current. If the property goes into arrears, the tax incentive program becomes null and void. They're only eligible to receive an incentive once within the time period prescribed within this policy for the same building or property. So the recommendation to council is that they approve this show home incentive program with an implementation date of April 15th, 2024.
Council. Your worship will make the motion that the show home incentive program be approved as presented.
I'll second that, your worship.
Discussion? No.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks, Patrick. I'm glad to see that we added the spec home to this program. I think that's the avenue that probably will happen in Weyburn. Like years ago, we used to have lots of spec homes going up, and developers or people put their money out on that. A show home in Weyburn is probably not likely to happen unless it's in a bigger project. But So we might have to make some adjustment there a little bit in that I don't think a spec home is going to be open to the public 5 hours a week, but they're going to have realtors for sure that are going to show it as often as possible. The spec home's a great thing. I think it's a huge investment for a contractor to go into or somebody to go into with carrying costs and everything. These homes, they might bring a new person to Weyburn that's looking where to land, and they might look and say, oh, there's a new house in Weyburn. Or you get somebody that might move into that house and make another house available for a starter home for somebody. It create economic benefit and employs people. I would like to suggest, and I would like council to think about maybe changing that to 3 years rather than a 2-year holiday on the taxes. And that I think by the time you get started, you're probably into June or July, so you're only getting a half a year. By the time you're done, you really only have a half a year to sell that house, maybe at best, by the time 2 years is up. So I would like council to consider changing that to 3 years rather than 2.
Yeah, I would echo what Councillor Van Betju said. I think this is a great program. Allow me for a second to get to the 3rd year. You added spec home in there. So for folks that aren't familiar, Patrick, what would be the difference primarily between a show home and a spec home, which is a speculative build, right? So
right.
Primarily, how would that function differently?
So from my perspective, I guess a spec home is built, basically you build one home with the intent of selling that home when it's completed, or hopefully at some point throughout the build process, but it's a home that you're willing to have sit there vacant until it's sold. Where a show home to me is more a way to show off your work and have people walk through and then use up other inventory that you might have in terms of vacant lots. So I guess, a good example is something like maybe a show car in a showroom. You might have a car in the showroom that everybody can sit in and look at, but then they're buying one off the lot as opposed to the one that's sitting in the showroom. Yeah. Whereas a spec home is more like, this is the one you're going to drive home today type deal, just for comparison's sake.
So, and I wanted to get that definition clearly defined as we can, because I'm not opposed to the 3 year or the additional year, I suppose I could say that. However, we just did Weyburn Builds, which is 3 years at 75%. So a speculative build, if it was sold, let's say you pull the permit and then you build it, maybe a year, you build it, now you're into year 2 and it sells, right? So now I own that house. Am I getting a 100% tax rebate or concession, or am I getting a 75% tax concession?
So just so you, like, in the eligibility criteria there, essentially under the show home or spec home program, the property is only eligible if it's not being occupied.
Right. So then I would, as the homeowner, I buy the house. Yeah. Then I come in and ask for the Weyburn Builds program.
No, that's also in there that the
property can only apply.
It can only, correct, yeah. It's only eligible to apply for one program. Yeah. That's
so correct. I want to let you speak to that, and then I have one more question that's completely unrelated to 3 years and 75%.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Patrick said. I think the incentive is for the developer in this case, for the spec home to get that developer, because like I say, they're taking the risk of, getting $600,000-$700,000 from the bank, or what, $400,000, whatever that may be, and paying carrying costs on it. So the incentive is for them in this case. I guess if somebody hired a contractor to build a house right from day one, then they would apply for the Weyburn Builds program rather than. But this is strictly so. If they did sell the house, then once that person moved in, I would say then that's when the tax incentive stops.
And just to kind of clarify that 75% is only 75% of what the city's taxes are, which is, I'll say, on a $3,000.
No, I think it's the whole tax bill.
But it can't be the whole tax bill because that's school tax is half of that. So we're not paying for school tax.
Yeah, it's eligible for both the education and for the property tax.
And who's going to pay for that education tax?
Well, you have to go through this process. So the Cities Act allows us to abate both the property and the education. So we do the same thing for our commercial incentive. You can only do it for a certain time range.
But I was saying, but the government's going to take the hit on the education tax.
That's why it's put in through the Cities Act to state that.
Okay, just as long as we know that we're not going to be paying
Nope.
education tax.
So when Patrick went through the report, he went through section 262, I believe.
I think it's 263, yeah.
263, pretty close on that guess, but it's so that states where we have the right for taxation and how long of abatement you can provide through the Cities Act.
Okay, because I was just, again, I'm sorry that I wasn't clear on that, because I always thought the government never gave anything on education.
Yeah, within the Cities Act, you can do up to 5 years, which we have done in the past. In this request that's been provided by Patrick, it's a 2-year.
But does that have to get the government's approval?
No, within the Cities Act, it provides us authority as a municipal authority to do that for both those taxes.
Go ahead, Patrick.
If I can speak to the 3-year thing as well, we very clearly define that it's from the development permit stage. So there could potentially be a little bit of a gap, I guess, for lack of a better term, right, like you're saying. So I don't think that it's a huge extension to go to the 3 years. And I think it might make it a little bit more attractive as well.
Yeah, because it's a calendar year, right? A taxation year that we're
right,
talking.
Correct, yeah.
So it might only be, some cases, it might only be 2 years, 2 months or something like that. But
yeah, correct.
I guess, okay. Go ahead,
Well, I guess in Council Richard's idea or premise behind the two different projects, one is that if I hired a contractor, when the house is complete, I get to move in, so that I get my savings currently, where these people are investing the money, handling the carrying charges, could be, 2 years and less, or 3 years less a day, and finally get the house sold. So I think it's important we make the switch.
Laura, I've got to ask you a question. So, and I don't know whether you're going to be able to answer this. So they get 75% tax abatement onto this one, is what we're talking about. But we're going to build a $400,000 house onto here. So the first year of building and constructing, what is the taxes? How do you figure the taxes on that first year? Because that house is not completed 400,000. It is maybe at 100,000 and a lot. So
yeah, so we would assess it based on how its percentage completion. If it was like 50% or 75% complete, and NASEMA would go give it a value for assessment. And then when it's 100% complete, they would give it another
so
value.
Really, so in actuality, say that there was at the end of completion, it's a $4,000 tax bill on that. But that's a sliding scale, though. The first 2 years is actually a sliding scale. We're not giving 75% of 4,000 of finished product. We're only giving 75% of maybe $2,000 on the first year, right?
It depends how quick it gets built.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying if it takes 3 years to build or 2 years.
Yeah.
Patrick.
Yeah, just to clarify, this program's the 100% one though, right? Yeah. And there's also in part of the eligibility, it has to be completed in a 12-month window. So.
Right.
Your Worship, I never thought I'd hear myself say this, but I think I've come around to Councillor Van Betche's way of thinking on this.
I wrote it down.
The worst thing that could possibly happen with this, because it's all new taxes, we're not really losing anything. The worst thing that could possibly happen is that we have too many new houses being purchased in Weyburn, and I'm quite prepared to deal with that problem.
Just one more. Thanks, Your Worship. Patrick, we talked last time, whenever that was, about the success that we're having with the 50% local content. If you could just, I know you said you felt very comfortable with what was being, I guess, accounted for lack of a better way of saying it. You feel comfortable that this is a good mark as well?
Yeah, I think just I presented it the way I did for a reason so that people had the option. Like, we're not saying that it specifically has to be material, it specifically has to be labor, or it specifically has to be like the trades or anything like that. We just want to see that this not only, you know, develops the community, but helps grow the community economically as well. And we're fortunate to have a good base of, you know, even lumber yards in town and lots of really good contractors. So I think it's reasonable to think that people would do that.
And in the existing Weyburn Builds program, where that already exists, that criteria, you're finding that folks are easily getting that 50%.
Yeah, we haven't, I mean, I haven't been here that long, but in the time I've been here, I haven't seen any that have had an issue getting there at all whatsoever.
Yeah, thanks.
Well,
Just one more question, clarification.
Yep.
The 50%, the lot is not included in the price of that 50%.
Correct. Right. Yeah, correct. And on the Weyburn Builds, not to step back, but that's why the mobile home portion, it's just for the on-site work, because we understand that mobile homes aren't built in Weyburn, so, or RTMs for that matter, but it's the on-site preparation.
but, and again, these guys talk about what is the total cost of Weyburn on that the Weyburn city itself is getting. So you give 100% tax abatement on for 3 years is what these guys are talking about. But of that true taxation, half of it is education tax. So the government's taking that hit on giving up, say, a $4,000 tax bill. The government's giving up $2,000. We're only giving up $2,000, correct? We're not giving up $4,000.
Yeah, I guess I'd argue what Councillor Jenke said in the sense that, like, we're trying to incentivize lots that we don't have anything on right now. So
no, but I'm just saying
anything sort of
what our personal Weyburn hit is only $2,000 a year on a $4,000 tax bill.
I'm not sure how to answer that.
You know, because it's half of it is education.
Yeah, it's all based on what it is. It's not exactly half, but it's
what
differences. The thing that Patrick has done a good job explaining tonight, this is an incentive to get economic development happening here. And this is on lots that are vacant. So these are on bare land, right? So right now we have properties that are vacant that aren't built on. This is new taxation. Once the 2 or 3 years, whatever council decides tonight, that's new tax money being brought towards the community. So it's really important that that's known by council that, you know, we're trying to, one, get new home startups, provide homes to people who want to live here, because we are seeing a large number of new people moving to this community and an opportunity that way. Two, we want to provide an opportunity for our local builders, developers, businesses to have that opportunity, because that's why the 50% is included. And then for us, it's always really key for us to see more taxation in this community. That's really a really key thing for us. And by providing incentive, because right now we're not getting a whole bunch off that bare land. Future, 2 or 3 years from now, we'll be receiving full taxation, which is great. It's great for the community growing.
Go ahead, one last one.
Yeah, thanks. And I just want to, I don't even have a question, but just, you know, when Patrick was giving his 14-minute speech on Weyburn Builds there a little while ago, one of the things that I think, you know, we need to focus on too is this isn't all for single-family dwellings. I'm not going to find the math that you had around, you know, 3 stories and X number of cubic or square meters, whatever the thing was. But you could get potentially a 6-plex built under that program, which would be excellent to bring people to our community. You know, we've got some new residents in our community who are sometimes struggling to find the right size home for them. So I think just to go back to that, both of these are excellent. Just have you had some feedback on any of these yet or discussed them with local builders? Or I see the chamber sitting at the back. I'm sure they would love to.
Yeah, so I can speak to that. We have been talking to some of our developments here in the community, and this is something that they would like to see to help grow what's happened in the community. I've had multiple different discussions with different developers, and they see this as an opportunity to start that build again in the community, and they see this as very positive, both this program and the Weyburn Builds program. And I know we've already passed Weyburn Builds, but the key for that program, that now incentive isn't just for the infill, it's for the whole community. So it's really quite beneficial. And I can say from my interactions, it's been a very positive request and a very positive response if this is approved by council.
So one last thing.
Yeah, sorry. I'll just say that the previous Weyburn Builds program was for like a single family or essentially like a duplex semi-attached type thing. And that's why I was keen on expanding it to any building that's in Part 9. And that's the 3-story under 600 square meters. So yeah.
So
basically any residential property essentially falls under
the one thing that also too is that builder here starts building a house. He's got 12 months to complete it. He gets 100% taxation. But within 18 months, he's finished it up in 12. Another 6 months later, he sells it. That's when the program stops. The new homeowner now doesn't get any abatement.
Correct. Yep.
So then, actually, for 3 years, we may not even have to pay 3 years. Okay.
That's the hope. Yep.
Your worship, based on the conversation, I'd like to make a recommendation that I amend my motion to extend it to 3 years at 100%.
I'll second that amendment, Your Worship.
All in favor of the amendment? Carried unanimously. So just read the motion one more time, just so we know what we're voting on. Yeah, so we had a lot of discussion.
That the show home incentive program be approved as presented with the amendment that it'll be a 3-year, 100% exemption based on the criteria laid out in the policy.
Any more discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Patrick, for all your work you did on this. Inquiries and announcements? Go ahead, Laura, first.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just want to remind the public that the library book sale is coming up. It's the spring edition, April the 18th to the 20th. They are currently accepting donations of gently used books, no textbooks or encyclopedias, please, because they usually don't sell. There are some unique opportunities going to be throughout the book sale to fundraise for the library as well, so I encourage everybody to visit. And they also need volunteers, so you can sign up at the library, and even if you've just got an hour or two to give, they can definitely use the help.
Larry.
I'd just like to give a shout out to the young fellows in the event that they held on the weekend. Great community organization, did a bang up job. It was very well done. So congratulations.
Mr. Warren? Okay, Mel first.
Yeah, going with what Larry had said, Councillor Higgs had said, also I'd like to they announced that there was over 250 businesses that donated prizes and trips, and by doing that, the young fellows were able to raise a fair bit of money for the community, and I would like to thank these businesses for their donations that they made, because it's business is not always easy, so it's great for them to step up and make these donations. So I thank them.
Mr. Warren, if you would, please. We have, again, the people from last week, last council meeting may not have seen them, but we have 2 new employees here that if you could introduce them. If you two could come just up to the podium, and Mr. Warren will introduce you to our people. You would, please? Yep. Come forward to the
Don't be nervous when the mayor asks you to come up to the mic.
Yeah, because these are the new faces of our city, and just step up to the podium. Anyway, Mr. Warren will introduce.
So first we have Carl Hertz. He's our new our new communication coordinator. He's filling in a maternity leave for us. So if anyone requires any of our communication needs, Kyle will be more than happy to answer your questions and help you out that way. He has started our new city minute, which is pretty exciting. So if you guys have a chance to check out the radio station, we have our counselors on every Monday. to explain what's kind of happening with the council, and it's a really cool initiative that Kyle's working on right now. Second person we have here is Shirley Malcolm, who's our new plan development coordinator. So she started with us last week. So she'll start to do a lot of the reports I've been doing for you guys and struggling through to do for you guys. We're quite excited to have Shirley working for us at the city. There's lots of cool development stuff happening. We just passed 2 new incentive programs that Patrick and Shirley will be working on. We just did our new district planning plan. So it's a really big thing that she'll be working on and working with RM on. So we're quite excited to have brand new employees working with us. And it's a great place to work, and we're really happy to have you guys with us.
Thank you. Welcome. Any other inquiries and announcements, Mr. Janke?
I have a very quick inquiry for engineering department. It hasn't rained in months and the snow is all gone. Can you assure us the street sweepers are out getting us cleaned up as quickly as they possibly can?
Yes, I can for sure. So we are actually going to be running a night crew and a day crew on street sweeping this year. So the night crew will actually be starting tonight on Government Road. And then they're going to be focused, and then wherever they finish off, the day crew will start at tomorrow. So we have both sweepers in effect. Essentially, they will start and follow kind of our snow routes. They will start with our first priorities, then they are going to go into the downtown, and then they'll start working on second priorities and eventually residential. During those times, we will be sending out, especially in our residential areas, we send out notices on our alert system to ensure that vehicles are removed off the street, as well as you'll see signs in your area asking you to please not park there, so we can effectively street sweep them as good as possible. So yeah, they are working on it. But yes, we needed everything to melt, and then right after they finish the street sweeping, they will have the crack sealer out on those streets that have just been street swept to do crack sealing for this time of year. And then once it gets too warm for that, they will move on to bringing out our new asphalt reclaimer to try that on our streets. Should help improvement. So
that is excellent. Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
Starting Sunday, the 14th, SUMA, the Saskatchewan Urban Municipalities Association, is having their convention in Regina. Just about all council will be attending, myself included, and the rest of council will be attending. And there we will find what the urban municipalities are doing throughout the province, and we'll be seeing what new and interesting ideas, objectives that we have, and finally the Saskatchewan government speaking to us at the end on the last day. So that is what we are kind of looking forward to all throughout here. So with that being said, is there any more announcements, queries? Laura, you said that book sale starts when?
The 18th to the 20th at the library during open hours.
So just when you get back, so they'll be there. All right, then with that, there's no notice of motions, and I will call this meeting to adjournment. Thank you.
If you'd like to share your feedback on the program you just watched, contact us today